hi, you're Semiah.
Yeah.
And you're playing on tomorrow, Friday and Saturday here in Gothenburg at the Viva Sounds Festival. Tomorrow you got the showcase,
Yes.
I think you said, and on Saturday a smaller gig.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of like a tiny desk vibe, yeah.
So you first went to Stockholm and ate a deer heart.
Yes, I did. Yeah, we landed in Stockholm about 2 days ago, and then we went to our hotel. We slept for a good 4 hours because, we were on a red eye. We had our stuff over in Iceland, but it was so cool to see like all the skincare products over there, and it was a really nice airport. But we landed here. I felt so sad because it was a beautiful day outside, but at the same time, I have to pace myself because I have to be rested and ready for tomorrow, my showcase. And then we woke up, we went to the old town,
Gamla stan?
Gamla stan. Yeah. So we went to the old town and we were kind of just wandering around. Like, I've traveled a lot growing up, so I prefer to just wander around and kind of see what's out there versus having like a plan. So then we went down this alleyway and there was a Viking cafe. So personally, I love Skyrim. So it was like so awesome for me to be going in there, and like they had like Swedish folk music playing, like traditional music, and it was like super cool. And we had reindeer heart and also like the best venison I've had. Like mushroom sauce was awesome.
Oh, nice. So eating while traveling or touring, it is to some people stressful, but do you feel it's going okay also with sleeping and eating and stress? You mentioned jet lag.
Yeah, well, I think like power naps and napping when I can is really important. Also, I've found here the food has been really great because I've been like stocking up on the all-you-can-eat buffets breakfasts. Because to be honest, the exchange rate Canadian and kronas, is that what it's called, are like insane. So I've been like eating as much breakfast as I can so I don't have to eat a lot throughout the day. But I think like specifically for that, like I'm indigenous from Canada, so we eat a lot of wild game. So I'm always really curious to like see other cultures and especially eat wild game abroad. So that I was impressed though, because that was the tenderest beer I've ever had. So I'm like, what is the secrets?
Did you find out the secret?
No, I didn't. I was like, that would be cool to have a cultural exchange to be like, hey, how do you cook your deer? But
so how would you describe your music? Like on the Viva Sounds page, there's a long description, and also you have set this long description of funk, electro, R&B pop with a little bit of techno, and blended with electrified hyperpop with twang-tinged ballads. Would you say that's about it?
Yeah, I feel like I have a really eclectic mix when it comes to my music. Some songs, like of course, I'm like I love to dance, so I like making the music first and foremost to dance to. Even when I'm in the studio, like if there's a break or like some kind of like, there always has to be some kind of dance beat in there. So I'll be in the studio being like, okay, but like make it wonkier so I can do like this cool weird dance to it. And so I think dance honestly is what I think about a lot while I'm producing. So obviously I make a lot of like up-tempo, more acoustic, not acoustic, electronic kind of synthwave beats. I'm also really inspired by like the 80s kind of sound, but making it more like of a modern take. Also really inspired by Charlie XCX. A lot of by Crystal Castles as well, with those like driving bass beats and like really washy higher synths. So I try to emulate that a lot in my beats, as well as like I'm also vocally really, I've kind of had an evolution. I'm really inspired by artists like SZA. She has really intricate kind of like weird vocal riffs, so I like doing that in my art as well. And I also like I started out as a traditional First Nations music artist from Canada, So I grew up a lot around traditional music, and especially I think, and this is still stuck with me till this day, I was really inspired by this Haudenosaunee female trio drum group, and they sang kind of like traditional / contemporary songs, but they taught me a lot about harmony, and in ways that, like, I know harmony can have like quote unquote, you know, there's like perfect harmonies or like triads, but they said like you should, they had very weird organic harmonies, and almost explaining them in a way that, you know, when you listen to bugs in the summer, like they have some kind of organic harmony together, and that's kind of what they tried to emulate in their songs. So I feel like having a lot of stacked, layered vocal layers as well is something that I also enjoy putting in my songs, but with harmonies that are not technically right. And I've worked with like a lot of like classically trained musicians, especially a lot of jazz musicians. I love them, but they're also like, that's technically wrong, like that's dissonant. But I'm like, but it sounds cool though, so keep it in. You know what I mean? So I like finding things that like potentially aren't right, but sound weirdly good in a weird way.
Music can be wrong and right.
Yeah.
Way, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess mathematically it doesn't work, but you know, like I like that it doesn't work, and I feel like, you know, part of me does want to go get classically trained, learn more about like music theory, but at the same time, like I just want to be a very intuitive musical artist, and I would rather, you know, collaborate with people that do know those things, so that I just want to keep my ear as genuine as possible, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then on the other side, I do like writing acoustic ballads as well. So I have a song coming out December 5th called Dead to Me, and I wrote that with my friend, and I think like it's just based on ukulele, and it's just a lot of like high notes. I guess in singing wise too, like I really enjoy having my like higher range, my more softer side, but then I also really enjoy my like super belty, like chest voice, like side as well. So right now I'm kind of finding the balance of like what, like those two worlds I feel are so different, but they're still me. So I still feel like, I mean, everyone's always still discovering themselves and always in discovery. But yeah, maybe that's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, but still the dance and indigenous culture you still bring with you.
Yeah.
As you started out from dance, right?
Yeah.
When you were a kid
Yeah.
already?
Yeah. My mom has a dance company called 𝘎𝘓𝑒 Dance Theater. And actually, 𝘎𝘓𝑒 is my great-grandmother's Indian name. So when you're born, you are basically like welcomed into the community and given your own name. And mine is 𝘎𝘓𝑒, which, you know, in my family we inherit those from like our ancestors in our direct family line. So I was the first girl born after she passed away, so that's why I got her Indian name. So, and that's what my mom named her dance company. So I grew up kind of like seeing her as an artistic entrepreneur. So I feel like that was some of the best education I've ever received, you know, being like, I don't know if I can swear, but like really awesome or kick ass. We can censor that if we need to.
You can say whatever.
Okay, let's go. And yeah, so she inspired me a lot, and I went on tour with her a lot growing up. So I've been traveling around the world since a very young age with her. Sometimes not in the shows, so but also like traveling with her. I spent a lot of time alone, so I had a lot of time to imagine and daydream. Like I feel like I'm a huge daydreamer in good and bad ways. I feel so yeah, I definitely had a lot of time to, you know, figure out who I am and like find my interests. So I actually was interested in visual art first, so I was really into animation, and like you could tell I had a lot of free time as a kid because I made a lot of animations by hand, every single frame. But yeah, I didn't get into music until I was like properly like maybe 16, 17. But it happened through my mom's dance company again because, you know, I was just naturally interested in like singing more traditional music. And my mom, like her dance company is indigenous and contemporary fusion. So she wanted me to sing in her dance compositions, and also like I would meet indigenous people from every country that we went to. So I think what really solidified me getting into music was meeting the Maori from Aotearoa, or like New Zealand. And the traditional way to introduce yourself is like singing a song from your culture and community. So my mom was like, I know you know a song, sing the song. And I was like, Mom, she always like throws me into those situations. I'm all like, you can learn a song too. But you know what I mean? And I think that was really special because I was introduced to singing because I was really shy. And I still find myself being really shy and introverted. Like I'm so nervous for tomorrow. But like that music is a form of sharing, and it can be cultural, and like it doesn't have to be about being the perfect singer, but it's connects people on a different plane. So I always try to remember that when I'm being very maybe perfectionist or nitpicky of myself about me and my music.
Yeah, it's a conversation. I think music is, and I remember you have mentioned writing Eskanye before your first song.
Yeah.
How does this compare with like music and animation, directing, and songwriting?
Yeah.
All of these things. Because you mentioned dance. Is that maybe the connection between like Eskanye being a women's shuffle dance?
Yeah.
You mentioned, and yeah, like directing also you did recently.
Yeah.
So in the music videos, I guess there's dancing.
Yes.
But
a lot of dancing.
in like your animations or directing, is it the same that it comes to play with dance, or is it standalone?
Like my music videos, or like my dancing as a separate, or is that connected with my music?
Like how the creative processes are similar or different when you're directing a movie, right? You had released a film.
Yeah.
And
well, like kind of like a short film.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my music videos are kind of like short films, I would say. But I would say that like I personally wouldn't release a song if I haven't envisioned a music video for it. Whether I do it or not, I just have to visualize the story. And I feel like that's how I consumed music ever since I was very little. Because remember I said I was like a crazy daydreamer, so I'd just be there sitting to music and like honestly listening to things like maybe on loop if I like a certain song, and that's all that I'll listen to. But it's because I'm envisioning like visuals to it and stuff like that. But yeah, I do eventually want to create my own feature film based on my one music video Withdrawals. So I'm currently writing the script, and then I'd have to pitch it. But basically, I'm just interested in that medium and film. It's so expensive, but
you wouldn't call Clementine a music video?
yes,
Or-
Clementine is a music video. It's not out yet, so it's coming out. But that is more of a short film. There's no dancing in that one. Yeah, and it was interesting, like actually having scenes and really more of a story rather than just really cool visuals told through dance. It was my first time really like acting, which I feel is one of my weak spots, and I just feel like I don't know if I'm the best actor, but it was something cool to do, and I'm really proud of that project. I just have a few crazy 3D vector stuff to finish, and then it'll be out. That is the whole thing currently.
So music videos don't have to include dancing then, I guess?
No, I feel like I'm curious about the different types of storytelling. Yeah. One film that I think is one of my favorites is called Song to Song, and in the way that it is very much like a movie and it's a film, but a lot of the storyline is told through body language and almost like it's not dance, but it's told through like gestures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would love to create a film like that, and it was so minimal, and then yeah, it was just so dope. So I feel like that would be the exact marrying of the kinds of mediums that I like personally.
Yeah. So you won a DORA Award.
Yes.
How is that thing?
That was awesome. I actually couldn't even attend because I had a show the same day. And I mean, like, when I booked the show, obviously I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. I actually didn't really know when it was, when, like, the ceremonies were. So when I saw the date, I was like, oh no, because I have a show that day and I couldn't say no because I had already said yes to that. But so I kind of like finished my show, and then like I got a call from my manager being like, guess who won a DORA Award, baby? And I was like, oh my god, this is so crazy, because like I won a DORA kind of through my mom before, because DORAs are a Canadian like awards for more kind of like dance performances. So I helped create a score for Rock Bottom Movement. They're this really, really cool Canadian dance company. Yeah, it was working in that was so interesting. I got to meet Jacob, my collaborator, 𝘚𝘰𝘲 and he actually spent a lot of time living in Germany. And yeah, it was so great to work with him because he had a lot more of an electronic kind of background, techno background, but we were very similar in the way that like he didn't go to music school per se, like he was actually an actor first, and he also chooses and likes to intuitively produce music. So we really connected in that way, and I think we brought out the best in each other in a way. We even had this one song, it was called the Whale Song, and we were pretending to be whales. So we were like, wow. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool though. That one got cut. But I liked that one because it was all about kind of like talking to somebody in the afterlife, and like what if you were whales in the afterlife and you were like, you know, and you're like talking so far from each other. So anyways, that was the concept. But we ended up going in a different direction. But yeah, that was really cool. I think I honestly was not expecting to win that at all, but yeah, it's a really great composition and a really great show, so yeah, it was a cool feeling. I wish I could have been there. I actually didn't even get to hold it, but I went to Montreal because Jacob's from Montreal, and then I finally got to hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And in Finland, you premiered your film.
Yeah.
There. And like, how was that being on a film festival?
Oh my gosh, that was so cool. That was so awesome. I really wanted to go because it's like so cool. It's actually like a theater built out of chunks of snow. And you know, I love the winter personally, so I really would have loved to go and then actually watch it being screened. But I had a few kind of like friends out there, so they went to go see it, and apparently the reception was awesome to it, and there was clapping. So I just wish I could have been there. But I think, yeah, that was a big milestone, especially because I don't really know a lot about film at the moment, so I don't really know how to market a show. I don't know how to do that, so it just came out of the blue. And I love when that happens, when people just find you and connect with you, and you know, always putting good vibes out in the universe. And you don't really know who's watching, so it really reminded me of that.
Is this now your 24th and 25th concert? I think it's on your tour, on your gigs that you have played on your webpage. How would you say that, like, from all these different places, that the vibes compare in different crowds, and how cities are, and like from exploring like Gamla stan, just walking around, what have you found that can be notable in different places?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so cool. I noticed everything here is very clean. It's awesome. Like, for me, and like everything is so aesthetic, which I really appreciate. I feel like back at home, people, or like, I don't know if that's city builders or civil engineers, don't really like think about. I feel like being in a visually pleasing, comfortable place also affects your well-being. You know what I mean? And I have felt so nice being out here, because even down to like the dishware, like the mugs, or you know what I mean, just little small things. I feel like people here really pay attention to that and think that that's important, versus like back at home, that's not really the case. So I feel like that was kind of the first thing that I was talking with my friend Maggie, who is also here playing keys for me and ukulele, that we're both really impressed by that. Also, everyone here is really nice, so that's cool. Although, like, it's similar in Canada, I guess. And then, yeah, I love the weather out here, and I love the architecture. And there was something, I don't know, maybe I should ask you about that, because I thought it was interesting. There's the river in the middle of Stockholm, right? And then on the thing, I saw like this like thing about fish, because I also like fishing, that visitors are welcome to fish in that river. And I'm like, that doesn't sound correct, but is that correct?
I assume there's one bridge I remember when going with the bus there many years ago, that there's usually people fishing, and I picked up that there's people fishing.
Yeah.
So it might be there that you're referencing.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like connection, because I feel like fishing and meat, from what I've experienced, is kind of like a central part of the culture here, and I can relate to that as an Indigenous person. Yeah, and I've always, honestly, coming to Sweden has been one of my top bucket list places to come, because obviously I love the architecture and I'm really curious about, you know, the culture, and I'm learning more and more every day. And it's just very interesting that, like, although I do speak English, it's not technically from my culture, but it's interesting to kind of hear similarities in the language as well. And kind of like, oh my gosh, the language that I'm speaking, like I can understand words from here, and like understanding the history of that. Well, not understand the history, but just like finding those similarities is pretty cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, I used to be better read on how those language trees work.
Yeah.
But are they connected closely or far away?
I'm not sure, but just hearing like hey, or like there's some words that are very similar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not crazy similar, but similar enough that I'm like, okay, there's definitely some connection here. And like, currently I'm learning my language, which is Mohawk, or in our language you would say 𝘎𝘁𝙢𝘎𝘏. And so learning, I'm just very curious about language, and that like how you can kind of like track movements of people through language, actually, instead of even like culture, like land. It's always through language, which I always thought was very interesting. And especially like I'm Indigenous on my mom's side, and then my dad is Indigenous to BC on my dad's side. And there's like, we're 𝘝𝘓𝘓𝑗𝑚𝑖𝑘, but that's kind of like an overarching nation, and like within that we're Catholic. And no, we're Peaklet, something like that. I don't know too much about that side, but the interesting part of that is that you really kind of like differentiate between nations based on the language or dialects, and it's very apparent there, because you have to go over mountains, and it's, you know, you're not going to see people on the other side of the mountain as often. So I just, it's been very interesting to kind of like linguistically understanding history through linguistics is very cool.
Yeah, like there are somewhat sharp cut-offs at the dialect.
Yeah.
What do you find most inspiring about the nuances of languages? Like how cultures come together in the exchange of like both music and language are melting pots of communication, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I just think that it's just very interesting. I do 100% believe that your language kind of like can mold your worldview, especially also reclaiming and relearning my language. It's a verb-based language, so we don't actually have any nouns, which is very different. And you actually have to like really think about, change your way of thinking to learn at least my language, because it's looking at everything as not a constant. Everything is always like moving and changing. So I'm always interested in that, how language connects with culture, but also, you know, it's the same thing with music. So I'm also very interested to hear like Swedish folk music or like traditional, I don't know, like traditional Swedish music. I haven't actually really looked into that, but I'm very curious to hear what that could be. Yeah. Also, what is Swedish death metal called again? It's something like score or something.
Sorry?
It's like Swedish death metal.
Yeah.
It's like a niche. Do you know what that's called? My friend from Toronto was like, go check out Swedish death metal, and it has a very specific name.
I don't know the name specifically, but yeah, there are many bands.
Yeah.
But I don't know of a specific term for Swedish death metal.
Okay. I gotta ask him, because I went to a Swedish death metal concert at the Abyss, and that was so cool. That's kind of really what I wanted to do coming out here as well, just because like I had never heard of that before, and my kind of like friend and bandmate from Toronto was like, you gotta go check it out, it's so cool. So yeah, I did get to see that, and it was really awesome.
When was it you went on tour at the, like you went on tour down the Canadian coast, it was, right?
Yeah.
And like how was that, do you feel?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, everything that we're doing, me and my manager are doing super grassroots at the moment, so like I don't have a label, I'm still very indie at the moment, so it was kind of like taking a chance, but also it was a calculated risk because I have family out there, so I could kind of go out there and stay there for lower budget. And yeah, so I went to Vancouver. It was awesome because I actually had a lot of people come out, which was really cool. And it was so, because I'm still starting, it was just really interesting to meet people that have no connection with me and they just listen to my music, and meeting people from, you know, nowhere close to where I've ever been playing shows or where I live, be interested in my music and actually coming out to see me was so cool to meet them. And then I went to Victoria, and then Cumberland, which is kind of like on the island outside of Vancouver. It's called Victoria Island. So it was very beautiful. And in Cumberland, I actually got a traditional welcome there. Because like my dad is also a musician, and he, you know what's crazy? He wrote a song when I was like very young called Semiah. So it's about me, and it actually is one of his most popular songs. And he was quite, you know, he's quite popular, and so especially within the Indigenous community. And so I meet a lot of other Indigenous kids called Semiah, or Indigenous girls called Semiah, and they're named after me. So it's pretty cool. So right now, even on my TikTok lives, or like people will message me, or on my Instagram, they'll be like, Semiah, do you know George Leach? And I'm like, that's my dad, you're actually named after me.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So I really want to make a group chat of all the Semiahs one day. I think that'd be so cool.
Did you mention at work, your grandparent passed away, and then they get the name, but this is not the Semiah name, or is it the same?
No, that's my mom's side.
Yeah.
So on my mom's side, we're Haudenosaunee, and specifically, well, we have a Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which is 6 nations, and within that confederacy, I'm 𝘎𝘠𝘰𝘶𝘏𝘢, which is Mohawk, and we're a matrilineal culture. So I personally identify with being Mohawk. Because my mom is Mohawk, and you get your clan from your mom as well. But yes, so my great-grandmother passed away, and then I was born 2 years later. So I inherited her name, 𝘎𝑗𝑗.
Yeah, and that is an established name.
Yeah.
While Semiah, your dad made this name, or
No, Semiah means bumblebee in Salish.
yeah?
Yeah.
And no one before you were named this name, or
I think I had a cousin named that, and he just liked the name, so I got that name. And yeah, but 𝘎𝑗𝑗 means she carries in Mohawk. Yeah.
It's fascinating with all of the different types of communication and expression, like if it's visual or body gestures, like I think you mentioned like 5 to 10 various forms of expression.
Whether I understand any of them, that's a different story. Like, what are social cues? But I don't think about all those, but I guess I'm very fascinated with it.
In your video for Withdrawals, you have some animations in the video.
Yeah.
How did you think about, because you mentioned starting out animation long ago, and then also stemming from dance as performing arts leading into music, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That's a very typical example, I think, of how you phrased it, that requiring dance for a song, right?
Yeah. Like, how did I come up with the animation?
Yeah, and like the music video in general, with the idea of including animations in the footage.
Well, I've always loved anime, and I've always loved manga, and I've always been a visual artist, and I loved drawing manga and anime kind of like in those styles, so I wanted to do something like that. But Withdrawals was very, very inspired by Kill Bill, and in Kill Bill they have like a whole animated scene, so I wanted to do something at least similar with the budget and the time and the woman power that I had. So yeah, I kind of, that is also what held up that music video for so long. But yeah, I think Withdrawals was just like such a passion project for me, and kind of just a risk, because I didn't have any budget for it. It was all from my own pocket and all from my brain, and would have loved to hire someone, but I guess I just did it myself. Yeah, I just wanted something that showcased like something that was very authentically and entirely me, and I feel like that's definitely that music video.
It is very fascinating.
Yeah, thank you.
Very upbeat in both the how the dancing complements the music. I feel is very upbeat.
Yeah.
The video and the music, I guess.
I specifically love whacking and voguing. They're kind of different styles of dancing, so I incorporate that a lot into my dancing. I'm so scared for tomorrow because I'm doing a new little dance break in a new song that I've made. And that's going to be my first song during my showcase tomorrow. But it's one thing to dance, and it's one thing to sing and dance, and like having the amount of endurance and breath control to actually like full out dance and then like sing and is really scary.
Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of conditioning too. So I feel like I'm slowly getting there, and I'm finally at a place where I can actually start doing that now. Yeah, so I'm excited to show that tomorrow.
So that's like, I'm thinking of when people go boxing, that's very tough for breath work, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So then, like, if you're gonna have a fight in boxing, then you have to practice for a long time, but also perhaps warming up before a gig. How would you say, like, do you have special routines before a gig to warm up?
Yeah, I usually, if I can, sometimes I don't have enough time, but I really try to make time before every show. I warm up for an hour, and it's a lot of like crazy sounds, but in terms of like conditioning, I'd like to like sing on a treadmill as much as I can, and then obviously just like practicing the dance and then singing the song right after. But I feel like the best way to prepare is on the treadmill or like jumping up and down and singing at the same time, because there's also like training that you have to do to like hold your core in a certain way. So like if you're jumping up and down and you don't sound like that when you're singing, you know, which is a lot of just practicing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been conditioning for this show, and I'm so excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope it will go great.
Yes.
We will have a few minutes now before AKA Lisa begins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should round up. You mentioned manga and anime.
Yeah.
Which are your favorites?
I really liked Soul Eater growing up, but I think my favorites probably are actually not necessarily anime, but do you know Studio Ghibli? Yeah, those are my favorite movies, and my favorite is Spirited Away. Very close with Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, Howl.
Yeah, so good. So good. And then I liked Oran High School Host Club. Very girly girl animes. What else? Fairy Tale. Oh, I'm really into Dr. Stone at the moment. You should watch that.
Yeah, I'll check that.
Yeah. Dr. Stone's really good. Because what I like about Dr. Stone, like I have to like the anime style also. If I don't like the anime style, then like I'm not that interested in it. But it's cool because it's like they wake up 3,000 years after everyone has been petrified in stone, and it's basically starting from square one, from like civilization from square one. And like there's a scientist guy that's really smart, and he's wanting to like rebuild society to like modern day, the same way that he remembered. So you actually get to, it's very educational. You kind of get to like learn how everything works, and I'm like, wow, I feel like smarter after watching this.
Oh, it's like if you could bring electricity or the knowledge of how to make electricity back in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I don't know how to make electricity.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going through like and how to do that from like just like organic materials and the whole process. So it's very entertaining. Yeah.
So post-apocalyptic, but without dystopia.
There is some dystopia in there, but it's not a dark kind of gory show. It's a very comedic, I would say. But there's still a plot line. Yeah.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, you do. It's so good. Do you like anime?
Yeah, I was watching with a friend Girls Lost Tour. It's a very dystopian about two people walking around in the snow and surviving.
Cool. Girls Last Tour.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
A friend recommended it and wanted to watch it together. So yeah, it was. I really liked the style of the animation.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check it
But
out.
it's a bit slow, perhaps, but it's also very beautiful.
Okay, cool. Love that.
So yeah, hope you will have two great shows now, and fun also at Elisa.
Yes.
In a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, is it? I'm horrible with time.
Half an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, I just
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.